Ja, Anatol. She Belinda Shirley in Shia. Touchy need an age dog is a lana bashashin. But I need a shate dog tutness a need a chanella. Yad Arnold Wanana. She Executive Director of Navajo EPA go what our shije do shanana shish. She you seen lay tentades ahade gona shadow aden shiaho ako ado kwaiki Navajo Nation Environmental Protection Agency which banash nisho dekushi shinache ako kwaiki Navajo Nation EPA bedi ninigi a di nihimana stan to Twada adat enigi kwaiki nihil hahodit enigi a kwaiki bebe has ani labe da hullo kwaiki Navajo Nation je Aquadi be has ani be the holoni gi e what au niche ben deitnish. Ako sheedi ilzegi do the nebel hannego what au do ado kwegi di let so hundas gedigi di tra o e yisi what au shanan the shadeshli the shno a de desi ako Ahe'hee nichidini do les kwegi nichil konohlonigi do kwegi hashin tsogo ahodesh athning zingi Ahe'hee ado kwegi nichinat ani lini do shema a first lady is the Ahe'hee bedini doles ako ahot au din khata ilnehegi e ba aheta needs in do we are very excited. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to our Navajo PA staff and our Madam First Lady and Second Lady. So thank you so much, and then I will turn the floor over to Miss Sonia Bigay.
Thank you, Miss Shirley. We have Thomas Bitsui II who will provide the invocation for us. Thomas, go ahead.
Okay. Hajondo le mohstan chama aruya de chitka. Kunoi kitado ya sanada desi. Aruinda de yen. The hanoshongi adashata now stay. So Tadazan Jana that the dot left by you. Quena holds the school now they please. Now they should have gay. Tadazan Behadis the should have needed. A koya con no son chama ado Jona Eshatra. Other twist on what seem to be as niche and just angel bars on the way. Adoing that lehana a or J out of some time. Again, ya, essence or labatrai a ya. Inosalahu. The light lie need long. Adoing the a no carbon anything. A coquag a Zilsonel. Zisnarchin, so it's it tokosli the pensa, Zilnardly. Zacholi, a quaggy, betray Jaya. It didn't need it, no card and any clean. A coquia, Joy Loy wants a case. A coquaggy a Washington. The never Washington. The other the quick was safe that in Nashville. A cotti, Nihabanel, Nishabanash, she do quagibin Yahi Kagi. Jokwagi, Yaha, Mihinatani. Mr. President Jonathan Nance and Miss First Lady, Quaggy, Shin so a Etil agi so yete hatotsi kwagi iyakon na nashatil ni geten naben pa na nashatil ni tatil ni jno ta no yete hatadisi ko ako kwabin ya kwagi hit ada etil ni jo ni geten nabe be bel ischana hotil ni benashe bajo hetanotsi do ban so do kus ado in da na ta do tsi so hot aya ekho epin ya ka ihina ne khai ko hot aya ekho nanish khata sin ko ko ka ki ti khoi go shin ata da anni so tishna ko ti ko ki be ha be khait si do be na di ta li jo tenna chako no san tradition ado inda ekon John nilch do ado inda ethuisan bilsala belagana yesiko joy Navajo Environmental Protection Agency ado inda biyaki yakon biyana on nada initiate joy kuche Waste Regulatory Compliance Department ado kwagi resource conservation recovery program so hata kwagi nisha kwa program itlingi hashin so in khaitsin ya kwagi ba yedi ba hatitse joko tako ko atahis ago koje ha ashko tahus ado inda shata na ho konshko tahus hashin so ya ko no san mihama jobeti no to hojoba hunitsen da ho kwendan hitalsia ne khadishi den hiten nani klegen khana so large in the hajine de hashin so ya te it inan khan bikat hawlia satazen khan daisia akodishin de do ba hunitsen da khut ak eba wan shibansus kesko akoben na ekon do denilzen no Zelzein legi ya to am lego belda yo to joba unizend tkhon jongon da na ya betkhach zelzei da il khat ado in da ekon na klosh jo ite nani kligi na klosh in hit nicht na lengo na klosh da kaya go zelzei hadasa ado in da ya the hajon no kon has aya go tse hatasa ya ko ya ba sho ni tsin haleta ekonza in hilko ko jo bansa keso anilsko nicht nas ago should that the nilge do bonetsand each and every one of us our livelihoods, how we go about our livelihoods. We generate waste. Ako ito state that the nikledo hot ida anilsko nikete kwage ba honitsinko ya kwage njongo dilnik kwada nikena tatotsin الكاديلو لا نيتلو لا اتلون نهات اتدوت سينلو ادم داي بالناجي ادول نفي دا يا نخا بوني تزادولي اخوت يا كاجي ساتزن من شين دي انا دسكو نو سانشما يا ادين دا جونا ايش تا يا ادين داي نلشي خاص ايش ما جوني Twisan totally sing to be yab. With I Yakon, Long a bit touching a ina, it has a in nuts don't lean side me, being Hilkahatet, it hasn't a Yabalas line, he to die, Kataho. Who the needs in front? A out as the things when chained. I don't die. Ha, your car we they should honor the please with the now to get it now, conserve if you base and so do it. That's what they say. Jean Dole, Jean Hastley, Jean Hastley, Jean Hastley, Jean Hastley.
Thomas. Now we have our Navajo Nation First Lady, Cecilia Nez, with the welcome address.
Volume. Yate. Good evening or good morning or good afternoon. Everybody, I just want to say hi to everybody who's watching this video. This is such, I'm excited for this whole Talking Trash series. We're going to go into, I think we have 14 months of this lined up right now. So we're talking into, the first half of next year. So we're all going to learn a lot, and I'm looking forward to from the office. Priorities revolve around homes and families, and we always want to bring in topics that everyone can relate to. We can live in NHA housing and one of the more populous hubs across the Navajo Nation, like Shiprock or Window Rock or Tuba City, Chinle. But then we also want to reach out to those families who live maybe away from these more populated areas. And we just wanted, this whole presentation series, it's in partnership with Navajo Nation EPA, their Resource Conservation and Recovery Program. And it's all revolving around solid waste. So their whole initiative, their whole goal is aimed at reducing and preventing illegal dumping activities on the Navajo Nation. But of course, we can all, we'll all learn along the way what we can do, just in everyday decisions, everyday choices, just looking around us. But a lot of this entails environmental education. And I can tell you from my own life, anytime there's any type of environmental education, I'm all for it. I used to work with NAU ITEP, their environmental education outreach program. And when we're talking about the environment, we're talking about, everything around us, the air that we breathe, the land that we walk on, and then of course, all those things that make an impact on all of that. So anytime you visit a nature center, a discovery center, anytime you visit a national park or a state park, you get to, these things are incorporated in there. You're going to learn about what plants grow there, what kind of weather they get, and how some of those items there that they have, the natural resources that are there, how they've been utilized over time. And then for us as Navajos, through Navajo culture, we're very aware of our surroundings from a young age. We're taught to view the earth as our mother, the sky as our father, and in our own prayers and our songs, that's just the way it's incorporated in all of that. So our entire lives, we're taught that we're not the supreme being that just overrules everything else. That's not Navajo cultural teaching. We are just one speck in a web, an interrelated web of life around us. So, with these series, and when we're talking about solid waste and One of the goals that we want to get out of talking about solid waste through the next 13 months from now is going to be bringing awareness to the connection between personal choices and global implications. So if you're listening to this now, you're starting to think global implications. How on earth can what we buy from Bash's or Walmart or Target, how does that affect the rest of the world is probably what you're thinking, but you'll be able to answer some of those questions. But we really want to inspire young minds as well, just to really start thinking about your carbon footprint. And that I'm sure that will be, if you're asking what is that right now, that will probably be something you'll learn along in one of the sessions. But really we want to look at our own lives and our own homes and realize how much stuff we don't use or need. And then the more important question, what do we do with all those things we no longer want or we don't have a use for anymore? And then, for example, you're gonna learn so much probably about plastic and plastic bags and just the whole notion of recycling and why that is so important. But really we hope we influence all of you to start improving your, recycling behaviors and your attitudes towards just trash, what is recyclable. But that's really, the whole aim of all of this, to educate ourselves on where the things in our daily lives come from, what goes into making them, and what happens when we throw them away, and how these small pieces of, our decisions and choices, how it affects everything else around us. So we hope that you will continue to watch every month. But that's something that I would encourage you. And I thank the Navajo Nation EPA RCA staff for their willingness to partner in presenting these this whole series. And then, of course, we're all looking forward to this. And I thank you for watching and being a part of this. Ahe'hee.
Thank you, First Lady. Now we will move into staff introductions by the RCRP staff of Navajo Nation EPA. Frederick, go ahead.
Yeah, there. Frederick Sherman, that's it. Don't Nanslanicky, not as it will bond, not what it's eating, but just look at the Chanala do, is a Shana, it does say. You see, not Shahade, not just on the Navajo Mountain, though. Do quite Navajo EPA, bear what you go, still say, but that you. Bear has ani, not Zodo, knock us do, not bear has ani, it's the still say, but that you. Shananish, do she or Hayu, what how. At the chapter houses, and also people that are the actual illegal dumpers. So Oshin wants to go at Edishni, Doshin Kodoshi, Nantin Walia keep it dead, do bet not Diego Kodoshi, Nantiniki Hadoti. Yeah.
Yate, Shay Yahai, Thomas Bitsui II. That's a Janetlo. Aruin da Ekia Ani, Eyain, Nishlino Ado. Hashkrishne, Bashis chain, said not Jinier, that's a chain, Habani, that's another without an example. Aro Shananish instant, a quaggy, Ibayeki. Zay Hashin so a Yahai. Benkage now, the Equaggy. Ba Haditze in the Yako. environmental specialist with Aisha title. Ahe'hee the program, Resource Conservation Recovery Program.
Yade Bene Norvina Charleston Yenishia Kia Ani Nishlin Deepa Tony Bashishi Nakedana Dashitrain. Thank you. And that was the staff of RCRP. Moving along, we will proceed with a presentation by Narvina Charleston, Environmental Specialist, Navajo Nation EPA. Thank you to the First Lady and the Second Lady for sharing the work we do for Navajo. I'd like to begin by showing a couple videos of our environmental movement and give you a historical overview. Like most of us growing up, we as Navajos enjoy animals and greeting birds. We are naturally environmentalists at a young age. Rachel Carson documented the adverse environmental effects caused by the discriminate use of pesticides. Rachel Carson documented and was an advocate for changing the outlook to work with nature. Go ahead and start the film.
Pesticides had become a way of life in post-war America, and by 1955, the country was being treated with more than 600 million pounds a year. But in 1962, the chemical industry, the government, and agribusiness were accused of poisoning the environment in a book called Silent Spring, written by Rachel Carson.
Can anyone believe it is possible to lay down such a barrage of poisons on the surface of the earth without making it unfit for all life? They should not be called insecticides, but biocides.
Rachel Carson painted a nightmare vision of the future. Silent Spring polarized the nation, and the ensuing controversy changed the course of history.
A great book has a flow to it, and it changes people's minds, it changes their outlook, and it has a long reach. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring is still affecting our thinking and our policy making today. The essence of Rachel's message was that we had to come to terms with nature and work with it and not against it. In a complex modern society, of course, that was a very radical concept, but in the sense of a change in our thought, I think she was revolutionary.
At age 8, Rachel Carson was writing stories. At age 10, became a published author. At age 14, she started selling her work to magazines. She's always wanted to go to college but couldn't, but eventually received a scholarship and began her career in biology and finished graduate school. Here are a couple of books. Here are a couple of books written by her, and I encourage everyone to read. As the video mentioned, she was New York Times bestseller, published on September 27, 1962. I'd like to thank all the community members on Navajo that took time out to celebrate Earth Day. Trash litter pickup is tough work. Our first Earth Day was created on April 22nd. Earth Day marks the anniversary of the birth of modern environmental movement in 1970. Earth Day led to the establishment of the EPA landmark to environmental laws in the U.S. By 1990, there were Earth Day events in 144 countries. Earth Day is every day. I found this great clipping on the New York Times. I thought it captures the every moment and anniversary of environmental movement. Senator Gaylord Nelson was among the first leaders to sponsor and spearhead the movement. In the years after the first Earth Day, the environmental movement was effectively unstoppable. The Environmental Protection Agency was created in December 1970, which started the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act. Soon followed. The image you see here is called the Blue Marble. The Blue Marble is an image Earth taken December 7th, 1972, from a distance of about 29,000 kilometers from the planet's surface. It was taken by the crew of the Apollo 17 spacecraft on its way to the moon and is one of the most reproduced images in history. Satellite images have an impact of how our Mother Earth inhales and exhales. Lastly, I'll end with a video of our NASA satellite animation of our Mother Earth breathing. Go ahead and play the last one.
Carbon dioxide is a naturally occurring gas in our atmosphere, and monitoring it is like watching our planet breathe. This animation shows the seasonal cycle of carbon dioxide and the increase of carbon dioxide every year due to human activity. In photosynthesis, plants absorb sunlight and carbon dioxide to make oxygen. And in what's known as respiration, plants produce small amounts of carbon dioxide that is released back into the atmosphere. When we burn coal and fossil fuels, lots of carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is also a greenhouse gas, which traps infrared radiation and helps keep the planet warm enough for human life. NASA's Atmospheric Infrared Sounder Instrument, or AIRS, is an instrument on NASA's Earth-orbiting satellite called AQUA. AIRS can measure the concentration of carbon dioxide in the middle of the atmosphere around the entire globe every day. In this animation, orange represents carbon dioxide as measured by AIRS. Green represents the concentration of vegetation measured by another instrument on the AQUA satellite called MODIS. Here we've taken out human sources of carbon dioxide to see the natural cycle of the gas as it's affected by the seasonal photosynthesis and respiration of trees and plants around the globe. Carbon dioxide builds up in the northern hemisphere during the winter months when trees and plants are losing their leaves, and in the summer when greening occurs, plants, through the process of photosynthesis, absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This process can be seen particularly well in the boreal forest of Asia and North America, located in the northern regions of these continents. This is the first direct observation from satellite instruments of the breathing of the global biosphere.
Thank you, Norvina. We will move on to our presentation by Frederick Sherman, Senior Environmental Specialist with Navajo Nation EPA.
Yate wa na kiko hona ago nikinash na askip. It's na askitigi ya latest Rachel Carlson waliego. Is easy nes ka donald so si ka yela khait o ya din himana hastan betahodit and late oshbenat said digi be hot o nes ka o nalt so si yela Silent Springs waliego no ya ado ebits ado shi belagana bish ischa elia do bish bish etahosen khait o yana hastan betahodit ehegi o hot o nalt so si la for 1950 to 1960 khaheta ado washte hote jije ya what ahkon da aste anihe kodo for ekaya da saani United States will yeheki be what yeheki ishi belagana what ahon da ste do akwa eki yiki ya bet ado na hastan al some so ishi blue marble will ya it's called blue marble and do akwa eki nihil ischa enanalia ha el kiteki do khait o ya in lay what ate nihe kwa nihe mana hastan hanawat nen do khait o bet is hatat do akwat ela hoto ni ya to leto na hastan and jona tashin hoto ni do shin hoto belagana and senata des cares Ado washte na hol je satellite imagery neneki inata yitla ya 20 years that's the what the nastan yaka o hat on yaka o chenat ahoshin is kid go bits ato hozeno be the net the nen da ashkaheki belagana and da ashkaheki yeah, that huh? Nihimana has song got nahi that zihla photo need. Just on the shiki it all nahi that zihla. Jo nchigi we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon monoxide. Akong nakashinashi ayuta wasa in their high school, middle school science class. Jo digi hot o bet that huh? Hande what that taco auto benan nata and tinseling quaki na kikuna nas kitiki hot na yitla na saniki na hitet ziho chona hit the nanny clean ita aquati nea nike or is ni his nike na and can be sala nike mana hastan hinna do bits ade ilda do no hokata ne bakha o bella ashla do ne ni tlati ni go be yel ki do ni na haganda a khonna cha na stan do yata khil ni het ha be ikha ta holno ya do ki it o hinna ta ni sam eshi kwa ki belagana ikiti do ita ni hit soto ni hit she bezati be yenda antina akwa egi benal ka do di benach ishi earth day neneki be hot do benach kung ban si kai about a week ago sa the moya da sa shit zain da ho sa she khot oni na na ta sa do ba he winsen do a khon ni na antin na khashna to ni so kep na hot o eta o sagi ba he winsen do the neni line khoti ne ya ni mana san na hitet si hot Do hinago do bit antoil tahti nithaya do koegi yatel betha do na hasam iki betha honitlo betha de hosanitli do agier hi nada hini nada okot isjahi do eben na di koegi il zeha nenegi so that's when I hit that do koegi ben na antin do ebit ado kot o series iki hahol jij di earth day iki ben na antiniki hot eat do hatna. It's been over 100, it's been over 50 years now since the environmental movement started in 1970. April 2nd, 1970, Adoshi Earth Day, hot eat Celine. So technically it's been 51 years now. So do koeki ke hona ango belaganan da aska o bit eta hosen nikena antene iketa te tane he mahit o hatet eto hetona hitetsi nenegi jo ainde nikets be salaya our own wedding basket and lay a shni guna et tizana ashni guna eke ya hachine ade hadaste eki it Ado koegi llagwego has llaya janet ego. Koegi na hastan keya nichel hadet ehegi it edgena. Ado na akona llageno bit jago be jago llagen llagi in sat edgena which represents prosperity. Jean na jila dat edo na hasamba kao nita netzin hikishi dat edo na kona ehona anekita baka kona et ochigo holshish lebeda al katet ichigo ya shachi o shena ahagi shabbat chi walia that's the rainbow that also represents the atmosphere. Ya akui go shi ke hona ago na hastan nchibik enas tijana kododo in leya ashjago ke hona ago akui go shi nchibik hodlojana do ebana ka il dego so go onda delta hande jana so shi benach dest in hodlodo and lay son agi bit ado na ite kit hodlon ya jo kon asnata alta hande jana ado it logical wana aneki sejeno that there's a hagi she represents yatil historia stone watchable it also represents the protection of Mother Earth so what ke hona angon hits hadat do the blue marble nigo the belagana yeta that hanigi any hits be the hadet jo ado na ashni do hund in le hajine do le ada al for us to travel though for us to showing that we're all interrelated kot hona an le ada al from the point of emergence. So there's a wealth of knowledge that we have as Navajo people about how we interact with the universe, how we interact with the atmosphere, how we are Earth surface people, and how we understand Mother Earth. How we understand Father Sky. So so and I'm sure there's other Hatkashis that can probably correct me on this. Just o be nashte nestaniki be yashti do kodo ben nikit ishjan ishte. So shadona ado na antin besnasti do na o besnasti o kodot ilse bahane. So ishjahi. So adoshi was there is 1970 though. Belagana ke ye that hato hito na hastan bakat Nail to hit on it or in thinking son, it's east but hatchet to left, to on him it's east but hatchet to left, to but there's la nenegi but nihit hatchet nahanat e to left, nenegi a what a hekishin yet that hanko auto a ya has ani hataz saline environmental regulations down the so what HED 1970 and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has lean. It's a Earth Day bond that stay in April. Aroha she what they see around June is a July be the sneagle. Ado EPA and they had it's the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Ado a Clean Air Act, Italia, do Clean Water Act, and lanes in Raja, big destin of has aninas, zoagi, don't that zoagi, a ade hat it does lean. Ado na kone a toyet laniki do. Kokea eskind I obi nas lenigi water quality day lenigi edo expope has ani hatet za ado a ade Washington the US EPA do be has ani hatet za do a ni hit haho bena ilni ek atibik et honor ido leshito ni is jahi ani ade states dano lenigi like the state of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado. Etano sinigi not anishin estlatin hawatzogi kodo eti bears aniki anihini nanis adakse do anihini bears anin da so beto ni do be ilni do kun zachen hata do se agent be do hospital ni do eta honos ego ella ni not so sanato so ni they were given opportunity so many days they had to write their own regulations and comply with the federal standards where we got our Clean Water Act and Clean Air Act. So we have our power plants on Navajo Nation, in particular, Four Corners Power Plant. Four Corners Bay, which it was on Navajo land. 800 state of New Mexico, Ayondi na di Clean Air Act, like Quado an hitet I obez ani gibebik itadenit ito no ye hat ze yo toja not anish chin ha hot zogi o konni hisnila di quagi second and sagos anigi Four Corners bear what jihigi ek aquajani hebe has anish if hadet ejibidet ijinahi yado is nesto less than hisnila. Nihe kodo the nani glini do anishin here the neba Washingtoni is a nothing the do that the ni do yeah akut era the nebekaya be do has ago it then you have no jurisdiction on tribal lands betoni adoshin a council ado that to create a commission. Ahe'hee Environmental Commission Office has leaned, I think it was in 1972, Dashine. Do a what o hat it's a lean. Ado a what o at the Elia, do what o at the yaj. We gave ourselves jurisdiction and we wrote up the laws and we went forth from there to establish what we know and understand today as Navajo Nation Environmental Protection Agency. Do distingo ebe o nesto distingo begin we revised the laws and regulations in accordance to environmental regulations from U.S. Washington, D.C. U.S. EPA office, and in accordance to scientific research. So ita yan di hitil segi ba hui lianegi benia hata hui kuieko. Akuyani til se atahil khatlande ya akonsin sat ati kote pon at bahata hui ko akuyani hitil se atahil khadia. Abarach saena tati tlet akuya. We have not only do we have pits to bury our garbage. On top of that, we're also burning our garbage in those pits. That used to be the recommended standards for how to take care of your solid waste. So I wish the holds to a pelagana yeta aska yet il zepetes la donahaya at eheki o yupet hatla hoto ni. Epetes la again hits east hatcha to le leki o yupa what lola to and lay ato le enashni ato le shota ahante aheki to hats east pitch and nahweed eheki eta but ato nahweed le hot ela hot ni. So what research has found that is burying your garbage is not the correct disposal method. We have a lot of harmful toxic chemicals that are actually in our garbage. So we had to revise the solid waste regulations to say no longer to bury your garbage and no longer to burn your garbage. So a cohort in that a bears on in as ado on the hitcha quacha the Napa Washington Navajo EPA hat nigo on the shitcha a bears on has lean ado il ze betet eo. Do a con o hayugo Ape has anigin shana antina nashin. A conhort haho shanda at lehego, tranas nele bataho ranago, a shanda at lehego, nihit yashtisha. Ado a con has slago the ne nalsos notice of violation neniki edo nas sosle bitch ishjan edashleo. A hot old bear or neshot ado dishin naso or tahaki a quigoshin bears ani gishin ndok asot to so that way the regulations can keep up with current research on the impacts on the environment and the health impacts of solid waste. So hot onan neshigi etel enquato the Napa Washington do ayat obe has ani be danil jizda edo kote ida. We don't just develop regulations to create more regs. We're developing regulations for the protection of Navajo people and our health and the land that we have here. The Nepekeya haki do the baha win zaniki apen ya hatne do it opes ani ben hit the jijo date either. Jotits il zay hatneniki shin lay a quigo shin nachego eskena or chito eske Ndesh chiniki hunzago ban site kesko do hunzago and sas kezo ebenia bears ani ki hat the neto hat edo nak astole. So we're forward thinking and we're planning for the future. And that's why we have these regulations. We're not just simply trying to regulate the Navajo community for the sake of regulations. We're actually developing these regulations so we have some kind of sense of protecting Mother Earth, in particular Navajo land, and we're thinking forward. And then for everybody that's participating in illegal dumping, please, I urge you guys, there's nothing that other okota and nihetin lash. Adoshi ishjan nas wal jisho eya el ke hona goshina antenagin nihel ishjan at that dorni. Forward thinking, moving forward. We have a lot of educational materials to share with the Navajo public. And hopefully we get more people to start adhering and understanding to the regulations and for the betterment of the Navajo people. Naso hotes ago nihits ilzegi hajo pa ahwil yato hajo pa ahwil chin. Even yet is a isi koto and hit ni to let is jahin. So she ahon so ye kote to he koto Shata Sato Anegi, First Lady, Second Lady, and her staff for the opportunity to present these series. Yeah.
Thank you for that awesome presentation, Frederick. We're just about wrapping up our first episode of our series. So I would like to introduce our president of the Navajo Nation, Jonathan Nez. Sir.
Oh yeah, yate ben aro kwa Frederick the neck etchin hin si shin e ya be hit do le to kon hi masan hi chain hinale nan tin shi e be naso de ni khachu kudo be has ani Jo nidigi ndali do klein hilbeda hazin shkein klin shay kudo Jonathan Nez and hilnido shin slon kat nesani e bash chin tulich ini da shido kat chini da shinale hela ado kwa shikedo shin da isnot zangi dan dan hinaligi hela kwa dina antin benda ni tindo kudo lana wins je compte ils et ba da chien at nigi jo lego trezoga ha san hi ken hi ne dan peso ye bahal chun da ilni e do peso bahal le page dan de krigo do le gana be ke ye hon da ilni e aden da ilni git ilze ille ko de ne be ke ka even na e ko do la yikeran lenigin khalchin agenda nishigi ot ahna ni on daily e ba heni tsimbana nishidel enigi ado here la ko belinash enigi sesta Cecilia's first lady ado le Washington de alajit asitagi president Joe Biden so e besta Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, Khania. Aro kon bilkat do lo wadi akon kia ka. Aro ilzation la tin pahan da des trado. Ya kon izi hin khasla de nani klini nishni. So kon asnigi di kosentskagi na hast it's atta. Ka ne chado kishin bil nisho. Di de kosentskagi ya kon nicht. Ka nature dido ko ta din ni so ta di il zain lego mo hon ni hon da des khari ka I je o jo din jen da ne sha da din de mo ya da e ko ka I je earth day will ya kon da ko I je she o ta ni na ne shi de o il zain da hi kla hi ke ya jon do le shi no tin e ba hada I no le do sa shi Keje ich how Zichina hat nido der Sekunde. Ot ani ya da ho an himasan ye chini nala. Ot ani hich yadal kia. Eben hit zi lige naste inika. Shkeno klini. Ishio na antinigi bedas nicht dolle. Ado ani kin khasala da hojit ego hat non da ni tin. Din da hot at zi zain da hit la. Ni kia hinjon da dotle. I just wanted to say in English the same thing I said in Navajo, that we appreciate the this webinar, talking trash. And it's about time. We talk about the solid waste issue here on the Navajo Nation. I appreciate the Office of the First Lady and Second Lady for bringing this to the forefront. The Navajo Nation EPA Resource Conservation and Recovery Program. We appreciate you all putting this 14-month webinar series together. So we're going to go into 2022 on this. Webinars and updates, just as you heard today from Belinda Shirley, our Executive Director for the Navajo Nation EPA. Appreciate Thomas Pitsui and the prayer and also his work as an environmental specialist, bringing the Navajo teaching to the forefront of being better stewards of the land and taking care of Mother Earth. Frederick Sherman, Senior, environmental specialist as well. Norvina Charleston, environmental specialist, all with the Navajo Nation EPA. Utilizing our way of life, teaching, and our language to remind our folks, this is not new teaching, it's just to remind our folks to take care of ourselves and our surroundings. And that includes the land, Mother Earth, Office of President, Vice President, Staff, Eti Abasta, and Sonia Begay as well for bringing this much needed information to the Navajo people. At one point, when I was a councilman, I introduced a legislation to ban plastic bags. They're everywhere, right? And then animals eat it, and they get hurt from it. And plus, you see them all over blowing around. I think we need to bring that back to the forefront, to ban plastic bags, to use, maybe go back to trash bags, the old trash bags, the brown bags, because there's a use after that. You can build a fire with the trash bags, and to, really look at these solid waste in a different way, and maybe even going as far as recycling. We're talking about landfills. I know there's people out there that say, not my backyard. That's why we're looking for land in around the Navajo Nation, so we can develop our own landfill here on the Navajo Nation. And the incorporation of Navajo philosophy is very important, especially when it comes to walking in beauty, right? That's our teaching. So Eshiben Nachikon, and then he should that Yagibe had I not. Ado Ada Hafia, Chiroshina. So the issue what out a Sahnat let on this, and then he should ask to that let on this. Because Ani Belada Slegi, could the Washington Edo and Tahot Sanje, Adon he asked to Adad now. A could out a ya on his bed as and on that. Bahia here. Earth as Aj. So, here then he Edo left Kodosh, Edo, Shitna. Ado Kodoshi, son, he Jahanana, Zito left Ophelia, Nez, Edo here, Second Lady Besto, Shina, Vice President Myron Lizer. You just want to continue to look at the schedule there, these 14-month webinars, 13 more to go. And again, we appreciate everybody that's on the call for their diligence and taking better care of our land. So let me turn the time over back to our First Lady of the Navajo Nation to close us out. And God bless you, and God bless our great Navajo Nation. Thank you so much. Ophelia?
Thank you for joining us for our first session of our Talking Trash series. Thank you to all the presenters, everybody from the Navajo Nation EPA, RCRA, Solid Waste Program, and then thank you to our OPVP staff. This has been such wonderful presentations. I guess we can close ourselves out with a prayer, but I'm excited to hear and watch the rest of this series. So, Kodoshi, So the Zinbe is not only. Dear Father, thank you again for today. We just give you thanks for the wonderful day that you've given us and for the wonderful presentations that were done here today. We just pray that you'll be with the Navajo Nation EPA and all the workers. Give them guidance and give them directions and all that they do, and then protect them, and then give them the resources to carry out these tasks that they are tasked with. And we just thank you for every one of them. And all the work, the service that they do on behalf of the Navajo people. We are here talking about solid waste, and we just pray that we would all be guided towards, how best to give education to the Navajo public, and then of course to line up some of the solutions in our everyday decisions and choices. And we just thank you again for everything. And we just pray for all communities to thrive, all our Navajo people to thrive. And we pray all these things in your son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Ahe'hee.